Manga is unlike anything you'll find anywhere else on the planet. And when you blend the charm of its storytelling with unmistakable distinguished art, it becomes something so wholly unique and impossible to imitate. Of all the manga I've read in the nearly 2 decades I've been a manga fan, I have been entertained, motivated, and moved to tears by so many of the stories I've read. But no manga has ever so successfully monopolized my full, undivided attention than that of the works of Taiyo Matsumoto. If you've ever wanted to read his manga, but aren't sure where to start, then let's dive in. Taiyo Matsumoto is my favorite mangaka. That's no surprise because I've openly stated it before, and he's a mangaka that I constantly talk up. I believe he's somewhat underrated despite having numerous accolades and being beloved by many manga fans around the world. And because I constantly talk about Taiyo Matsumoto because he is my favorite mangaka, one of the questions I get commonly asked both on YouTube and on Twitter are, hey, where should I start with his manga? So what I'm setting out to do with this video is give you guys the ipso facto official starter pack on where to start with Taiyo Matsumoto's manga, which ones you should begin reading, and which ones you should move on to once you realize that, yeah, he might just be the best mangaka out there. Now here in the West, Viz Media is the publisher of everything Matsumoto. Most of his manga, even if they are in series, are typically contained within single volumes. And if not in single volumes, usually in these really nice 2-volume omnibuses. Which I cannot wait for, that is going to be so fantastic. But unfortunately, there is some of his manga that are out of print I won't talk about that you could pick up at any point during this video. I'll also leave links to where you can buy those down in the description below. Now, my first recommendation is Sunny. Sunny is this 6-part series that chronicles the story of a group of orphans that live in a care home. Now, while the series actually focuses on a lot of the characters that live at this care home, it also mainly focuses on a young boy called Haruo, the white-haired kid here on the cover of Volume 1. Now, Haruo is very precocious, he acts out, he doesn't really let his feelings out, he bottles them up, and he really believes that he is the toughest kid at this orphanage. What you do find out is insight into how Taiyo Matsumoto's storytelling works. A lot of his manga really hinges on these bittersweet stories that are very poignant, they're very somber. And because he tells these stories so well, you find yourself almost immediately connecting with the characters. At least for me, very few manga I actually do connect with characters, but Sunny and other Taiyo Matsumoto manga, I find myself almost immediately drawn and captivated by them. Now, the thing I find really interesting about Sunny is that it explores the world through this really lonely worldview. You have all these kids that some of them believe that they're going to get to go home and see their parents again. Some of them are understanding of the fact that they might not actually get to leave until they're adults. And a lot of the realism, both in the storytelling and how the characters are portrayed, are actually drawn on from Taiyo Matsumoto's own experience as an orphan when he was a child. Now, I'm secure enough in my masculinity to admit when a comic book has made me cry, because it's only happened on 2 occasions, Solanin by Ennio Asano and Sunny by Taiyo Matsumoto. Kind of break your heart almost instantly. And perhaps my favorite part about the way that this story is told is that you kind of feel like you're there. You really genuinely feel like you're kind of one of the quiet kids sitting on the outside, watching these kids play and just kind of experiencing everything that they do. You know, some characters come and go, some get adopted, some end up going up. So masterfully written. It's just such a genuinely good manga. It's the perfect starting point to Taiyo Matsumoto's manga because I think it perfectly encapsulates his kind of somber, really